Welcome to Brazos Matters. I'm Jay Sokol. Today we're talking about economic development in the city of Bryan, and there is plenty to talk about, but it wasn't that long ago when there wasn't much in that regard. Times have changed a lot, and we're going to get into all that with our guest, Bryan's Managing Director for Economic Development, Kevin Russell. Kevin, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for letting me come today.
Absolutely. We've been threatening to do this for a while.
Just a little while.
Yeah. So, 32 years with the city of Bryan?
32.
All right, let's see how accurate LinkedIn is, because you've got a lot of job titles. So you started in 1992 as a code enforcement officer.
That is correct.
Okay. Then building services coordinator.
Correct.
And then I came along to the city of Bryan when you were development coordinator.
Okay.
And during that same time, you became director of planning and development services. Does that sound right?
Missed one little thing, but yes.
What did I miss? What did I miss?
That would be, let's see, what was it called? It was called planning and development. It was a manager position, development manager.
Development manager.
Yeah.
Now that got left out of LinkedIn.
Probably my fault.
It is. Director of Planning and Development Services,
Yes.
then Economic Development Director.
Yeah.
Director of Development Services.
Yes.
And now Managing Director for Economic Development.
Just a few things.
Holy moly, man. That's an interesting career arc, because for folks who are in economic development, is this a fairly common way to get there?
No.
Well, tell me about that.
Well, so in 1992, I was an electrician before my government stuff.
Okay.
So I got married, moved away, and came back, and I promised myself I was not going to go back into construction. Well, in 1992, there were no jobs.
Yeah.
So I luckily found a job with the city of Bryan as a code enforcement officer and thought, I'll just be there for a couple of years, maybe, and I'll move on and find something else. Well, I ended up liking it, and as you can tell, I've done a lot of things for the city. I will say that one of the most interesting things that I did as a code enforcement officer in 1992 was go to the LaSalle Hotel on Friday afternoons, peel back a piece of plywood and yell, "Y'all need to leave now. I'm screwing the board shut."
For all the squatters,
Yep,
right?
Yeah, and so they would all leave. I would screw the board shut, and then Monday morning I'd come back and they would have it unscrewed.
See, it was a different time
Yeah.
back then. Even you had already been there for like 8 years before I came along with the city of Bryan. But even then, around 2000, it was still a different city, really, than we experience now. And I was just talking to our mutual friend, Chad, who worked with me there. And he brought up, he said, I think it was Kevin who used to take us into the LaSalle when it was pretty dilapidated.
Yeah. There was no windows. It was just plywood. It was extremely dark and lots of pigeons.
It was. But that was the case with a lot of those downtown buildings.
Yeah.
That you could have bought at the time for a song.
Yeah. A lot of people did, and now they're reaping the rewards of it.
So tell me more about, I guess, from an economic development standpoint, but also, your experiences in building services and code enforcement and so forth. What Bryan was in those early years for you. What do you remember about it?
Very slow. The progress was very slow. There were a lot of good ideas, a lot of planning and things were being put in place, but the growth was really not there.
Yeah.
And then as we got more, we got councils that were a little more aggressive towards economic development and understood what it was. That's when things started happening. Everyone's heard you have to spend money to make money, right? Well, we spent a lot of money in downtown redoing all the infrastructure, the public stuff. And that's what kind of kicked off the resurgence of downtown.
Yeah, if you've been to downtown and you think it's always looked like that, pedestrian friendly, no overhead power lines and things like that, that's not how it always was.
No, I wish I could find the video of the A&M professor that did a story on downtown and basically said it's dead and it'll never come back.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that?
Uh-huh.
And I wish he could see it now, because he would. I think he would be amazed.
Yeah, that really was. It was sort of unsexy decisions and spending and work by that council or those councils. But you're right. I think that really was the spark to making what you see today happen.
Yeah. We have a little bit left. The downtown north, which is, the city owns a few blocks down there that we've been working with a developer on to spur that end of town. Hopefully, in the next year or two, we'll see some significant progress there.
Well, let's talk about that. So you're talking about the north end of downtown, I think, between Main Street and Bryan Avenue, and maybe before you get to MLK where the Ice House is.
That is correct.
So tell me what that transformation is supposed to look like in the next few years. And starting soon, right?
Yes.
Okay.
We certainly hope so. We've been working on that downtown north piece for probably the last 8 years.
Yeah.
Significant work towards negotiating and trying to figure out exactly what the market will support. But it'll be a combination of what you kind of see now, where you have the loft type housing units, so apartments, condos, retail first floor, hopefully a venue for like concerts and plays and things like that. So a public space, some green space. We're still trying to figure out. We're like the farmers market. We would like for them to have a space down there, but we can also move them to Midtown, which I think is kind of the plan. It's just it'll be highly dense.
Yeah.
And which is a good thing for people who want to live, play in downtown.
So I know the plan has always been to continue that redevelopment and reinvestment all the way from the south end of downtown to the north end. Mm-hmm. But the kinds of development that you're looking at down there, is that based on what you are told, what the city is being told by residents, by business owners, by those who might be willing to invest? Like, are they saying, this is what we want to see down here? Or is it really the council and maybe the Bryan Business Council and so forth saying, here's what we're going to do because we hope it becomes this? Like, how does that work?
Well, so we originally sent out what we call a request for a proposal, RFP.
Yeah.
And that's where we have these kind of the grand vision. Here's what we want. Mm-hmm. There's nothing, it's a 20,000 foot level document. These developers do their market study and they come in and they say, here's what we believe your community can support. Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. And so we pick the one staff recommends to council selects which developer that they want to work with. Mm-hmm. And from that point, it's basically a market driven document.
Okay. So the first big building that is supposed to be constructed down there, am I right? Is it a hotel? Is that what's coming?
The first building has been constructed, and it was the apartment building at I guess that's probably 23rd.
Yes. Okay, that was the first.
That was the first.
Okay.
And then there is a hotel, there is office buildings and things like that. I don't know we'll see what the order is, but a hotel is part of it.
But things are about to get vertical.
Yes.
In downtown.
Yes.
Not just the Varisco building. We're going to go
right.
up.
We're going to go up. We'll see how high. I mean, it could be anywhere from 5 stories to 8 or 9. Mm-hmm. We'll see. Mm-hmm. I haven't. Don't know for sure.
Yeah. Has council talked about, like, hey, we would really like to see these bottom floors of these developments become X, Y, or Z? Like, is there that sort of granular vision at the moment?
Yeah, they would like it to be non-residential, mm-hmm. but they're not so set on it's got to be retail. Mm-hmm. So I think they would be okay if the market said you only need 20%. The rest of it could be something else. Mm-hmm. I think they would be okay with that.
Okay. What else about downtown, since we're talking about that? What else should we know that is either coming or things you're hoping to work on for downtown?
Well, always trying to get out that there's plenty of parking down there.
There is.
There is. You just got to know where it is. And, we have a giant parking garage probably with 900 spaces in it that's pretty underutilized. So we hope people will utilize that. But there's tons of things to do down there, from the restaurants, the mom and pop restaurants, to the mom and pop retail. First Fridays, there's just events all the time. So it's a neat place that people should go to.
Yeah. Shifting gears a little bit, I wanted to talk about Texas A&M's presence throughout the city of Bryan, because when we were working together, that wasn't the case.
Correct.
And now you've got either A&M or A&M system presence in downtown, on the west side of the city, and at the Rellis campus. And I'm wondering how that has changed Bryan's ability to pull in retail and industry and so forth.
Industry, I would say, is probably the bigger catch. Retail, Bryan College Station plays off of each other all the time. We both win wherever it goes. Our residents need it. Our residents want it. So if it's in Bryan, great. If it's in College Station, great. Industry, that's your primary jobs. That's the thing that I think A&M helps us the most with, because of the research component. Mm-hmm. It may be that it's just whenever we're talking to someone and we bring up that there's an ability to partner with A&M on whatever component it is, it locks them in. And then when we introduce them to a professor mm-hmm. or whomever, and they start having that conversation about, here's what I do, do you think you can help me with this? And they hit home runs every time.
Yeah.
Especially at Rellis.
But also it feels to me, and I'm looking at this from a communication guy's standpoint, that there's credibility, there's some street cred and legitimacy that comes with A&M actually being in Bryan now.
Yeah.
In all these different ways, because back when we worked together, that wasn't the case. A&M was across the city limits, and so that's where industry wants to be. That's where, retail wants to be, and the whole thing. But now it seems like, oh, okay, I see the big A&M brand in downtown. That's something. Oh, there's a health science center. Mm-hmm. Oh, what is this relic? Like, it's almost a permission structure for industry and whomever that when they come to Bryan, they are still in proximity of Texas A&M.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that, and they it's just the presence of A&M, the logo, the brand. Mm-hmm. People recognize it. It helps. It obviously, you can see what it's done in College Station, and I'm glad we're taking advantage of it now.
Yeah. Any plans to sort of extend that footprint for A&M in any of those portions of Bryan? Looking to get
hope so.
Deeper presence?
Yeah, we hope so.
Can you tell me anything about that?
No. I'd love to, but that's one I can't.
I know. Economic development is tricky because unless you see something coming out of the ground, there's still a chance that
it may not happen.
It may fall through.
Yeah, and what I learned, especially with retail, if you announce things too early, mm-hmm. then you will have the people or vultures come in and pick them off, and they'll get them to go somewhere else.
Correct.
So you don't say anything until they're coming out of the ground or until everything is signed.
I learned that when I worked at the city of Bryan.
Yes.
Yes. I got bitten a couple of times on that little thing.
Target.
Yeah, that was one. Yes, sir.
I remember that.
Uh-huh. Listen, if you just tuned in, I'm Jay Sokol. You're listening to Brazos Matters, and my guest today is Kevin Russell, Managing Director for Economic Development in the city of Bryan. Here's something that I don't necessarily hear a lot about, but then again, I may not be paying close enough attention. Tell me about the importance of the biomedical corridor, and is that something that will kind of continue to exist as it has? Is there a need for it to continue existing like that?
I think so.
Yeah?
I think so.
Sorry, I threw that out there without explaining what the biomedical corridor is. Could you give a quick explainer?
Sure. So the bio corridor is around Traditions. It's by the Health Science Center, and it's where Fuji is located, and so they manufacture pharmaceuticals. Right now, Fuji is the big player in that area. There's some space out there for continued growth for both them and for other companies, but it's changed a little bit to where it's not just bio. Mm-hmm. It can be smart manufacturing. It can be defense. There's multiple things that ties the bio corridor into Rellis. Mm-hmm. So because they're so close to each other. So, if you look like the Army's Futures Commands and things like that, we have the bio corridor as it exists, but the Bryan Business Council purchased approximately 200 acres across Highway 47 where the bio corridor drive ends, dead ends, and with 200 acres for the extension of that type of development over there. So that's another long-term play.
How are you able to now create some synergy between the bio corridor and Relis? Because when the bio corridor was first conceived and started emerging, Relis wasn't really in the picture, I don't think. So how do you create that synergy, and is there a synergy?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's natural. It's just a natural thing that happens because of what's happening. The research component at Relis, and you know, the Department of Defense many times is bio, right? So there's a lot of ability to draw those types of companies in here, whether it's research or manufacturing. I mean, we've also had logistics companies look out there. You know, the big one has looked out there, but you know, right now they're more focused on the larger metros like Dallas and Houston.
I see. So you, as an economic development guy, you're still putting bio corridor properties and opportunities in front of various industries.
Yeah, and also we respond to them from the state leads too.
Yeah.
You know, the state sends a lot of leads out where companies are looking to either expand, relocate, or start, and we reply to those and say we have a solution with this piece of property, and then we try to. That's how we got access pipe and tube.
Right. How competitive are we in that regard?
Pretty competitive.
Yeah.
Pretty competitive. We are. What we find is that the state of Texas sometimes isn't as competitive as like Mississippi or Louisiana or Alabama, but because they're all in on that, and the state of Texas a lot of times, because our state's so big, we'll have 15 or 20 communities that are competing for the same thing, and the state really can't step in and say we'll give you this, because then they don't know what the other communities are going to need, so they want them to select before they do that.
Right. Moving down, I guess it's Highway 47 and towards the Relis campus. Tell me about how the evolution of the Relis campus and what happens there is benefiting the city of Bryan from an economic development standpoint.
First, that place is gorgeous.
Didn't used to be.
No, but you're right. I mean,
it is really transforming.
It has.
Yeah,
it has. You know, so I'll tell you that the thing that we seem to go back to over and over and over again is the Futures Command. We have had truck outfitters. We've had other defense type or could be defense type contractors that go out and talk to the folks at Relis because of their unmanned. They just have so much technology out there; it's crazy. But they tie in with all these different folks that are trying to start their business or grow their business, and they want to be close to Relis. So we're continually going out there having tours, and then these folks are looking at properties in Brazos County, in the city of Bryan, probably College Station, and I would think probably the counties that surround us. However, we're in kind of a better situation because we have the infrastructure in place, power, water, sewer in place, so these folks can develop what they need to develop.
Yeah. So what is the city of Bryan able to do in support of Relis and their transformation? Like, what are you guys there poised and ready to do, or proactively doing to try to help them?
To help them? Yeah. Well, I think we supply electricity, and so we're upgrading our. If you've seen it, if you drive by, you'll see the substation, and you'll see the transmission lines and things that we've put in place so that we can support the type of industry they're bringing in, whether it's data centers or their manufacturing or to support the research. That's one aspect of it. The other is we offer, if it's a taxable company that they're bringing in, because everything that goes out there is not owned by the system. So it could be a private venture. So we may be looking at incentives such as tax abatements and things like that one would expect us to look at anywhere in the city of Bryan.
Yeah. But what about also creating opportunities for restaurants and retail and all the things that would support a growing community that works out at Relis? What might that look like?
That's a good one. It seems we're ready for it.
Yeah.
And I think the people that work out there are ready for it. But when you drive a retailer down 47, they look at it and they go, boy, this is green. They just don't see it yet.
Right.
But if you get off of 47, like on Jones Road, that connects Leonard Road to Villa Maria, you see quite a bit of development there. They just can't see it from 47. And then on the west side of 47, it's still green. It's a lot of agriculture. But we are recruiting some convenience type restaurants and quick serve QSR, quick serve restaurants. The low lying fruit is always a gas station, right?
Right.
Well, but it's not just your typical. I mean, it's not a Buc-ee's. We all wish it was.
Come on, man.
So I wish we could, but we're looking at things like that, to get out there so people have options other than to have to drive all the way in, to town.
So you've mentioned a couple of times the Bryan Business Council.
Mm-hmm.
Explain what the Bryan Business Council does and can do for the city of Bryan.
Okay. The Bryan Business Council is a nonprofit. It is an economic development corporation. They're responsible, or the council has asked them to help with recruitment of hospitality, so your hotel and restaurants. They've asked them to help with housing type situations, so they explore our incentives that we offer to different for home builders or developers to make sure that we're keeping up with what needs to help these folks develop. They also look at education, so they look at Bryan Independent School District, A&M, Blinn, as far as the ability to do job training types things. So they're looking at making sure that our people, our citizens, wherever they live, are trained and they can come in and fill the need if an industry needs a machinist. We need to make sure that these folks are trained on this particular type of machine, right? And so they partner with the education outlets to do that. They also have a finance subcommittee who really watches over their money so that they can do these functions. They do some incentives themselves. Like I mentioned, they bought property to grow the bio corridor, that whole 47 area. They also partnered with the Marriott on the LaSalle. Mm-hmm. They helped with the courtyard and if you've noticed the structures that are out there, they helped the courtyard do that. And they're not quite finished yet. They have a big giant TV they're going to put in there so you can have your fun game day stuff.
Right.
They also look at basically if the city council needs them to interact, to review, to help with any type of economic development deal that's going on, they will step in and do that and then make a recommendation to council.
I see. So they're
all business guys. They all own their own business. The majority of them do. So there's a different perspective there.
Got it. So you and your office are doing what you do. The Bryan Business Council is there to support in all kinds of ways. You got the council obviously giving direction throughout. Tell me about the role of what was the Brazos Valley Economic Development Corporation, now I think is known as the Greater Brazos Partnership.
That's correct.
How do they fit in?
So they are the entity that looks at the primary job market. So that would be your manufacturing.
Okay.
They're the ones that we support. We give them information. We support them when they're responding to these leads from the state or going out and recruiting industry to come into the community. We support that. You know, whether it's by giving them information about our utilities, our property, you know, whatever it is, we support that.
Got it. So I've got about, I don't know, 23 more questions for you, but I see the clock is winding down. We only have a couple minutes left. What is something that I didn't ask you to talk about that maybe you just want to make sure folks know about economic development in the city of Bryan, Texas?
Okay, so I will say this. Economic development, it touches just about everything.
Yeah.
Right? And one of the things that our council did that I think was maybe one of the biggest game changers so far in the 2000s, 2020, whatever, is Midtown Park.
Oh, that's right. I got to have you back here to talk about Midtown Park. Good gosh.
We'll come back.
Okay.
So Midtown Park with, the very first deal was not Top Golf, but Big Shots.
Yeah.
And now Top Golf has it. And it's just a Legends Event Center. Unbelievable place.
Okay, so I have to have you come back, and we have a whole show devoted to what's happening at Midtown. My gosh. See, but what a great problem to have, because 25 years ago, Kevin, when we worked together, we couldn't have filled up 28 minutes talking about economic development and excitement and momentum in the city of Bryan.
No, we would have been talking about tearing down houses.
Yes, sir. We sure would have. And shooing people out of the vacant LaSalle. Well, I'm happy for you and happy for the city of Bryan, and I appreciate you coming in and chatting, and I will have you back to talk more.
I would love to be back.
All right. Well, I think we did it. And by the way, is there a website in case people want to learn more about economic development? You want to send
All you have to do is go to www.bryantx.gov, and you will find it under the departments tab, or actually along the top, it'll say economic development.
Okay. That's how we track you down.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Brazos Matters is a production of Aggieland's Public Radio, 90.9 KAMU FM, a member of Texas A&M University's Division of Marketing and Communications. Our show is engineered and edited by Matt Dittman. All Brazos Matters episodes are available on YouTube and on podcast platforms. We'd love to have you rate and review. Thanks again for listening or for watching. I'm Jay Sokol. Have a great day.